to the Ku Klux Klan, which obviously I'm going to disavow. And by the way, if you look at my Twitter account, almost immediately after the program, they were disavowed again. You know, it's amazing. When I do something on Twitter, everybody picks it up, goes all over the place. But when I did this one, nobody ever picks it up. Take a look at my Twitter account.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Senator Rubio. Senator Rubio, 3 weeks ago, you said, quote, "I don't do the personal attacks, primarily because it's not who I am. Because I think it's beneath the office that I'm seeking, but also because I don't want to embarrass my kids." But in the past week, you've mocked Mr. Trump's tan. You made fun of his spelling. You called him a con artist. You suggested he wet himself backstage at the last debate, along with other vulgar jokes and jabs. So what happened?
Yeah, you know, Brett, let me say something. This campaign for the last year, Donald Trump has basically mocked everybody with personal attacks. He's done so to people that are sitting on the stage today. He's done so about people that are disabled. He's done it about every other candidate in this race. So if there's anyone who's ever deserved to be attacked that way, it's been Donald Trump, for the way he's treated people for the last campaign. Now that said, I would much prefer to have a policy debate. I hope that's what we'll have here tonight. Let's have a policy debate.
And we will.
Let's talk about Donald Trump's strategy and my strategy and Ted's strategy and John Kasich's strategy when it comes to ISIS and on healthcare and on the important issues facing this country. But let's be honest, too, about all this. The media has given these personal attacks that Donald Trump has made an incredible amount of coverage. Let's start talking again about the issues that matter in this country. I'm ready to do that starting right here, right now, tonight.
Mr. Trump, your response? Well, I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay, and I have said that, so I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight. And as far as, and I have to say this, he hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. Okay. Moving on.
What the fuck?
Okay, Senator Cruz. You say that you are the true conservative in this race. But 15 states have voted now, and you have won only 4 of them. You've lost repeatedly with what is supposed to be your core voter groups, including evangelicals and conservatives. Hasn't your brand of conservatism been rejected by an electorate that appears to be more taken with Mr. Trump's populist message?
Well, Megan, you know, at the end of the day, for the folks at home, this is not about the insults back and forth between. Through 7 years of Barack Obama, this is the single moms who are working 2 and 3 jobs, 28, 29, steel workers and the mechanics with calluses on their hands. People coming out of school with student loans up to their eyeballs that aren't able to find it. It's solutions, not slogans. It's regulators that are killing small business and abolish the IRS. And what that's going to do, man, opportunity. That's where our focus needs to be. That's where my focus is. And that is why our campaign is the only campaign.
I've heard Ted say that over and over again on television, that he's the only one that can beat me. Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. Last week, in fact, on Tuesday, I was 500,000 votes higher than him. I was 1 million votes higher than Marco. 1 million votes. That's a lot of votes. And was by far in first place. So I keep hearing that he's the only one that can beat me. But he's getting beaten very, very badly. So where does this come from? Where does it come from?
Go ahead, Senator Rubio.
Yeah, I would just say a couple of things. There is no there. Here's what the numbers also say. 2/3
This is to be wrong. CNN just came out with a poll 2 days ago. A national poll, a national poll where he's at 15, he's at 14, and I'm at 49. So when he says 75%, that would mean that 80% of the people don't dig you, and I'm back down to 50.
Of all the people on the stage, he performs the worst against Hillary Clinton.
Wrong. I beat Hillary Clinton. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls.
If you're our nominee,
Excuse me, I think I'm talking.
Hold on.
excuse me.
I beat Hillary Clinton in
Hold on.
I hope you can.
The audience cannot understand when you're talking over each other. Finish your point, Mr. Trump.
I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. The Q poll just came out. I beat Hillary Clinton in a recent Fox poll. I beat Hillary Clinton in USA Today. I beat her today in a poll in Ohio. I'm the only one that beats Hillary Clinton. I beat her, and I have not started on Hillary yet. Believe me, I will start soon. I haven't even started. Governor Kasich, today you admitted that you have a narrow path to the nomination
for president because I worked hard to fix this country when I was in Washington as the chairman of the Budget Committee, where we had some of the most significant job growth after we balanced the budget.
You can see that your path is through a contested convention. How do you get
Brett, I think we're all delegates in Vermont with Donald Trump. I finished second in Massachusetts, and we won delegates in Virginia. But guess what? It's now March Madness, and we're heading up north to the place, to my turf, okay? And let me just tell you this, I will win Ohio, and I am going to move all across this country, and over time, as people begin to finally hear my message, you know what people say, Brett, to me all the time? Why don't they give you any time on the debate stage? Why is that? So now all of a sudden I'm starting to get it, and what I want the people to know is, I know how to bring people together, Republicans and Democrats. I have successfully, both at the federal level and the state level, brought economic growth, wage growth, and economic security to this country. And I want to go back and do it again. And I'm going to keep talking about my message of bringing people together and motivating people in the neighborhoods to realize they don't need somebody from
People discussing it online. A lot of that conversation is happening here in Detroit, where the unemployment rate is 10.9%. That's more than double the national average. Senator Rubio, you have taken to calling Mr. Trump a con artist who portrays himself as a hero to working people while he's really been, in your words, sticking it to the American workers for 40 years. But he has built a big company that employs thousands of people. Question, how many jobs have you created?
Well, first of all, government doesn't. First of all, Chris, my point is exactly right. He has spent a career of convincing Americans that he's something wrong.
Mr. Trump,
He talks about how he wants to create jobs in America. He can start tonight by announcing that all the Donald J. Trump clothing will no longer be made in China and in Mexico.
Could you respond to his specific assertion about Trump collection clothes, which you say some of it is made in Mexico?
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go.
He has lied so much about my record.
Mr. Rubio, Senator Rubio, why don't you let him
And I will tell you this. First of all, I got a call from my sister and brother tonight, and they said, we had no idea Dad gave you.
Did you see Rubio flip the camera off?
I started off with $1 million. I built a company that's worth more than $10 billion. And I say it not in a bragging way, but that's the kind of thinking we need. Very low debt, tremendous cash flow. My financials they're all in there with the federal elections. You've seen them. Everybody's seen them. I say it only because that's the kind of thinking this country needs with $19 trillion in debt. Believe me.
Wait 1 second. Specifically and quickly on the question, will you promise that you will, and how soon will you move your clothing collection, the clothes that are made in China and Mexico?
They devalue their currencies. I will do that. And by the way, I have been doing it more and more, but they devalue their currencies, in particular China. Mexico is doing a big number now also. Japan is unbelievable what they're doing. They devalue their currencies, and they make it impossible for clothing makers in this country to do clothing in this country. And if you look at what's happened on 7th Avenue, and you look at what's happened in New York with the garment industry, so much of the clothing now comes out from Vietnam, China, and other places. And it's all because of devaluation. By the way, the Trans-Pacific, if you look at the TPP, a total disaster, which, by the way, Marco is in favor of.
Motherfucker, there you go, Trump.
It's a disaster for our country. It's trying to be approved by various people, including President Obama. And I'll tell you something, the biggest problem with that is they don't take into concurrence the devaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Senator Rubio.
And they're killing.
Senator Rubio.
The answer is he's not going to do it. And you know why? Because there are plenty of clothing makers in America. If you go on my website, marcorubio.com, everything we have on there is made in America. The reason why he makes it in China or Mexico is because he can make more money on it. That's why he's doing it. And the second point, you see what happens again when you challenge him on a policy issue? You ask him about the economy, and the first thing he does is launch an attack about some little guy thing. Because he doesn't have answers.
No,
And he's
I have
asking
very
us
good
to make him the president of the United States.
So you have it. You know what? You know what?
All
Take a
these
look at
companies
Trump's
that
things.
he's ruined.
By the way, that's the
Some
other
states
thing.
it's gone. You've ruined these.
Mitt Romney
He's not
came
gonna
up
make
with
America
things that were
great.
false, totally false. And now, the funny thing is, he didn't talk about the hundreds of really successful jobs.
Numbers don't add up. Please put up full screen number 4. The education department, you talk about cutting. The total budget for the education department is $78 billion, and that includes Pell Grants for low-income students and aid to states for special education. I assume you wouldn't cut those things. The entire budget for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, $8 billion. The deficit this year is $544 billion. That's more than $500 billion. Your numbers don't add up.
Let me explain something. Because of the fact that the pharmaceutical companies are not mandated to bid properly, they have hundreds of billions of dollars in waste. We don't bid properly. We don't have proper bidding procedures. The reason we don't is because they take care of all of the senators, all of the congressmen, and they don't bid. They don't go out to bid. Take a look. Excuse me. You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
No, you're not.
If we went out to the proper bid, of course you are.
No, you're not, sir. Let's put up full screen number 2. You say that Medicare
They should have set up Trump.
$300 billion a year negotiating lower drug prices. But Medicare total only spends $78 billion a year on drugs. Sir, that's the facts. You're talking about saving more money on Medicare.
I'm saying saving through negotiation throughout the economy, you'll save $300 billion a year. And that's a huge, of course it is. We're going to buy things for less money. Of course it is. That
The
works
only
out.
money that we buy, the only drugs that we pay for is through
I'm not only talking about drugs, I'm talking about other things. We'll save more than $300 billion a year if we properly negotiate. We don't do that. We don't negotiate. We don't negotiate anything.
Can I?
No, I promise I'll get to you in a moment, sir. Senator Cruz, one of the centerpieces of your campaign, in fact, you mentioned it again tonight, is that you will abolish the IRS. Question now, who will collect the taxes that you're still calling for? Who will oversee to make sure that people pay the taxes that they rightfully owe? And who will check on the various tax deductions and tax credits that you still want?
So my simple flat tax I've rolled out in precise detail how it will operate, where every American can fill out our taxes on a postcard. And if you want to actually see the postcard, see all the details, you can find them on our website. It's tedcruz.org. When we get rid of all the corporate welfare, all the subsidies, all the carve-outs in the IRS code, it dramatically simplifies it. And under Obama, the IRS has become so corrupt and so politicized, we need to abolish it altogether. Now, at the end of that, there will still be an office in the Treasury Department to receive the postcards, but it will be dramatically simpler. And let me take a moment, Chris, to go back to this exchange that was going on in between all of the insults. Let me point out the specificity that was lacking. It's very easy to say, let's cut waste, fraud, and abuse. I've rolled out a detailed plan to cut $500 billion in federal spending.
What is that white shit on his lips?
It's easy to say it, but one of the great disconnects to all the people, all of the voters, I understand the folks who are supporting Donald right now. You're angry at Washington, and he uses angry rhetoric. But for
Did you see that?
Donald has
What
been
the
part of the
fuck?
corruption in Washington that you're angry about. And you're not going to stop the corruption in Washington by supporting someone who has supported liberal Democrats for 4 decades, from Jimmy Carter to John Kerry to Hillary Clinton. You're not going to stop the corruption and the cronyism by supporting someone who has used government power for private gain. Instead, we need a president who stands with the American people.
Governor Kasich, I promise I will get to you, but you do get 30 seconds to respond, Mr. Trump.
For 4 years I've been involved in Washington. I have been supporting people for many years. And these people have been politicians, and they've been on both sides, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. I've supported everybody, because until recently I wasn't a politician, and I hope maybe you don't all consider me a politician right now. I hate the term politician, but I've been supporting politicians. A recent article somewhere said Donald Trump is a world-class businessman who goes out and he does get along with everybody. I've supported Democrats and I've supported Republicans, and as a businessman, I owe that to my company, to my family, to my workers, to everybody to get along. Part of the problem we have in Washington, Chris, is it's total gridlock. Nobody gets along. We need people to get along. We need to be able to get things done.
Governor Kasich, Democrats, as you know, will make income inequality a big issue in the general election.